guys, it's Amelia. 안녕하세요. 제 이름 Amelia입니다. 근데 주는 조청사 아니에요. It is furiously raining outside right now, which I think is perfect book weather, but like, I don't know if you can hear it, so I'm sorry if you can. Today I'm going to do a July wrap-up, so I'm going to talk about all the books that I have read in July, which is quite a lot. So some of you know there was this thing called the Reading Rush that happened, I think, the second week of July, and it's this reading event online run by these two girls, and there's a bunch of different prompts, and the goal is to read 7 books in a week, but they have to fit a certain guideline. I did 2 videos on it, a vlog and also this other video describing which books I was going to choose for the different challenges. You could go check them out on my channel if you want. So I read 5 books during that challenge, but I also read 5 other books this month. I've been reading like crazy. The first book I read this month was Becoming by Michelle Obama, and it was so good. I really liked it. I started it actually back in January, and then it was a library book, so I had to return it, and so I didn't get to finish it in time, but I took it out again, and I read it at the very beginning of the month. It's very interesting. It tells you all about her life. It starts when she's a kid and tells all about her childhood and how she grew up in Chicago and all the different problems she faced. And then it also tells about her meeting Obama, which is pretty cute. And then it also tells about her young adult life. And then towards the end, it does the presidency and right after the presidency, but it doesn't talk too much about that because I guess she probably couldn't say too much. So I thought it was a very interesting perspective, and I'm excited to watch the Netflix documentary now. I would rate Becoming 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read The Hate U Give. This book is so good. I think it should be required that everybody read it. I learned so much from it, and I've been trying to diversify my reading and learn about new perspectives and different problems in the world. The Hate U Give follows a young black girl in somewhere in the US, I don't think it says where, and it's about how she's growing up in the not so good area of town, and then her friend gets shot, and she watches her friend get shot by the police, and so it's about police brutality, but also all the stigmas that are associated with black people in America, and how problematic everything is in our country. And it was very, very interesting and brought up a lot of interesting perspectives and points that I thought were, it was just good that she was able to fit all of that into the book. I was surprised. It's also a really good fiction book. Like, it's just like you're in the story, and it's written really well, and it's like a page turner, and I really liked it. I think it should be a required reading in school, but like, would the US ever do that? Probably not. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think? There's also a movie for this book. I haven't watched it yet, but I have heard it's good, so I'm going to watch that soon as well. I would rate The Hate U Give 5 out of 5 stars, yeah. The next couple books all come from the Reading Rush that I was mentioning earlier. So the first book I read during the Reading Rush was The Color Purple. I've always wanted to read this book because it's a classic, and there's a movie with Oprah in it, which I have not watched yet, but I'm very excited to watch. This book was so good. I blew through it. It's written as little letters, so the chapters are all really, really short, so it was a really quick read, and it was really interesting, so I really liked it. I rate this a 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Night, which is a Holocaust book. It's very short, but very sad, as always. A lot of people read this in school, but I never did. I don't know why my school system didn't have this one. I don't know what year you're supposed to read it, but I never read it until now. I would rate this like a 2 or 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Normal People. I thought it was so bad. I really don't understand why everybody is so obsessed with it right now. I've been seeing this book everywhere. Like, all the different lists. It's a New York Times bestseller. Every, like, booktuber I follow, all the different, like, bookstagrams I follow on Instagram, everybody's talking about this book. It has a very pretty cover. Hot take, I thought it wasn't that good. It's a young adult coming-of-age story, and it follows this couple. It's a guy and a girl in Ireland, and they're first together in high school, and then they go away to college together just by chance. But I just thought the whole book was, it was just so boring. There's no plot. It's very, like, ho-hum, like, my life sucks. It was very, like, Catcher in the Rye, but like a modern Catcher in the Rye. Also, the way it was written, there's no quotation marks, which drove me nuts, because you could never tell if the person's saying it out loud or like thinking it in their head, which I am assuming was done on purpose, but was also extremely annoying as a reader, because I had to reread paragraphs to understand what was going on. Also, it's set in Ireland, but like it could have been set anywhere. Like it didn't have that big of an Irish influence in my opinion. So I'm all around really disappointed in this book. I would rate this 0.5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the new Hunger Games book by Suzanne. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't realize when I picked it up that it is a prequel from the perspective of President Snow as a young adult. I thought that was really interesting, having his perspective of how he's like the bad guy, but he's just a human. So it really humanized him, but also was like, people are really bad. People suck. It was quite long. I think it's like 500 pages, but it was really interesting, and it tells the story of President Snow and his involvement in the 10th Hunger Games. So that was interesting to see more of a historical side of like how the Hunger Games started, I guess. It was cool, and I hope she writes more like this, because I would love to hear different stories of different Hunger Games. I think would be really interesting. I would rate that like 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read the Grisha trilogy. I am obsessed with this series. It is so good. The first book is Shadow and Bone, the second one is Siege and Storm, and the third one is Ruin and Rising. I love this book. I haven't read fantasy young adult in a hot sec, so this was a really nice series to get back into that genre. The YouTuber Cari Cakes was talking about it a lot and was like so obsessed with it that I thought I would just try it out, and I've owned this book for a really long time. I used to like impulse buy books a lot, so I bought this way back when because everyone was talking about it, and I never ended up reading it. So now I got the others out of the library and read the whole series literally in a week. These are all like 400 pages each, and I read the entire thing in 5 days. I just started working in New York City last week, so I was reading these on my commute, and they were so good. I wish I could like reread them. The plot arc from over all 3 books is so good. Like it flows together so well that I don't really remember where each book ends and starts. So I'm sorry about that. I'm going to try to explain the general plot and universe of this book series really quickly right now, but I'm going to apologize in advance because I don't think I'm going to do it very well. So the concept behind this series is that there is this new universe, right? So we got this new map. I'm going to put it up now. And so this trilogy is set in Ravka, and in my opinion, Ravka is vaguely based off of Russia. They have some Russian words, they have sort of a Russian influence. I am pretty positive. Then there is a country to the north that I think is based off of Norway, and then there's a country to the south that I guess is based off of a sort of like Middle Eastern type of vibe. And the 3 countries don't get along well together, right? And then there's some other countries across the water, but they don't really matter in this series, so let me just explain those 3. So the book is set in Ravka, so that's the main country, right? And if you see in the middle of this map, there's this area called the Unsea, and it is essentially just a really, really big area that is completely void of life. And it's like a complete black void mist that you can't really see through. It's very difficult to travel through because there's a lot of like demonic flying creatures called Volcra in it. And so it's very unsafe, and it split this country in 2, and it's very scary. And it was created a long, long time ago by this one very powerful witch. So in this series, witches are called Grisha. That's just what they're called. And so there's this big, powerful Grisha called the Darkling who can control shadows and, like, darkness, right? And nobody else has this power. So there's 3, like, sections of the witches, the Grisha, but they have, like, specialties underneath. So when you are a certain type of Grisha, you're born that way, but then you could sort of only do the one thing. Sort of. There's exceptions, but we're not getting into that right now. The Grisha, in my opinion, are almost sort of like an Avatar-esque witch type of thing. So if you know Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's sort of similar to that. I'm gonna speak in terms of that, right? I do not know how to say these names, and I've never said them aloud before, so bear with me. So the 3 levels. The first one is the Corporalki. So they are sort of like the bloodbenders. They can control your body and like heal, but also harm the body. And so you will either specialize in healing, so you could like bend and heal the bones and stuff, whatever, right? Heal the person. Or you are a heart renderer, which is like a soldier, and you could like go like this and like squeeze someone's heart, and that like kills them type of thing. So that's that. Then the next group is called the Ethralki, and the Ethralki is divided into 3 groups. This is more where I'm talking about the whole Avatar thing, because there's essentially waterbenders, airbenders, and firebenders. That's not what they're called, but it doesn't really matter. And they could pretty much do the same things in the Avatar universe. Like, if you're a waterbender, you could bend water out of any stuff, right? And you could like make ice and things like that, right? The interesting twist in this, though, is that like waterbenders obviously need water near them to bend water. The airbenders can bend anywhere because there's air everywhere. But then the firebenders need flint to start their flame. They can't just like make fire out of anything. They need to have a starter to like make the fire. So I thought that was a little interesting. They have a little limit on them. So those 3 are not called waterbender, firebender, airbender. They are called Inferni, tide makers, and squallers. Then the 3rd group of benders is the Materialiki. When you only read the books and then when you try to say the words out loud and they just don't sound like real words, please help. There's 2 different groups of them. There's the Duras and the Alchemy. I still don't really know the difference because most of the book just talks about fabricators as they can generally bend any type of material. So they can bend like wood, metal, glass, fibers, all those type of things, and they bend them and can make machines or clothing or like bombs and stuff like that. So that's what they are good at. They're not really fighters, they're more of like a behind the scenes type of soldier thing, yeah? So those are all the different witch types, the Grisha types. And so the main character in this book is a girl who is not a Grisha, and then she finds out that she is. And she can bend light. And so this is like crazy, because that's not a thing that people could do. So then the whole plot revolves around her bending light, and is she the savior type of thing? Is she going to fix the unsee? Is she going to defeat or marry the Darkling? And then there's all different problems that happen. It's just so good. And what I really like about this series and the way the author writes is that the characters are just so human. Like, they're very, like, stuff happens and they're like, this sucks. Or they're just like, I don't know, they just respond really humanly, in my opinion, and I think it's really interesting. And she also has a lot of relationships happening in it, and they're also all very, I don't know, authentic. I feel like it's not just them making out every page like a lot of young adult books are. Instead, it's them like fighting over something, or they're just like squabbling and then they're mad at each other and then they make out. But like I thought the series was so good. And guess what? There's more. So after I read that series, I finished one more book in July. I finished Six of Crows, which I feel like is more famous than the other series. I feel like a lot of people know this book. This is currently a duology. I'm currently reading Crooked Kingdom right now in August, but this book is so good. Also, can we talk about the fact that whatever this is called, the page sides are colored? This is so pretty when you're reading. It's gorgeous. I'm obsessed. Like, thoroughly obsessed. Like, what? What? So Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom are a duology that takes place after the whole Shadow of Bones trilogy, right? So it's the same universe, but now it takes place in completely different countries in the same universe, and it has completely different characters. We don't even mention the other characters really, which sort of made me sad because I really miss the other characters. But we're moving on. They're still like doing their thing in Ravka, but like now we're focusing on these characters. This series is mainly set in Ketterdam, which in my opinion is supposed to be Amsterdam. Don't really know. This is just how I think in my head. That's what it was like. So Ketterdam is Amsterdam, and it follows this group of hoodlums from Ketterdam, and they are in a gang together, and they are hired to go do this heist in Fjorda, which is the one above Ravka that I think is Norway, but I don't really know. So they go and they do this big heist, and it is so good. So it's essentially just a heist, like, storyline, but the characters are so interesting, and the plot is just, it's crazy the whole time. You're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Is everyone gonna be okay? He can do that? What? So, we love it. Also, the characters, they just all seem really pretty, and I'm just... Netflix is making this universe into a Netflix show coming this fall, 2020, so I'm super excited, and I hope they casted it well. I am pretty positive they didn't whitewash it, but I'm not really sure. I have not looked into it too much. I just know that it's coming out in 2020. I'm very excited. To my knowledge, the Netflix show combines both the story of Shadow and Bone trilogy and this duology into one TV show, so it's going to follow both sets of characters separately on their plot lines, which I think is very interesting. I'm very excited! I hope it does well so they make more seasons. Anyway, I love this series. I love this universe. Thank you, Cari Cakes, for recommending this to me. I'm obsessed! There's also one more book in this universe called King of Scars, which is based on the one prince in the Shadow of Bones trilogy. It's like his story, but I haven't read it yet and I don't know too much about it. Also, the author, Leigh Bardugo, is supposed to make a third one in the series soon, but we'll find out. I don't know. So that is what I read this July 2020. I obviously am reading a lot due to quarantine, but also because I'm commuting like 2 hours a day. So I have a lot of free time on those trains to read, which I really like. So I can't wait to read more books this upcoming semester. It's not a semester anymore, I'm not in school. I can't wait to read more books this upcoming fall on my commute. If you have any recommendations, let me know down below. I'm currently reading Crooked Kingdom, which I love so much, and also Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. This book is really good and very interesting, but I will talk about it in my August wrap-up, so please stay tuned. Next, I am planning on reading Such a Fun Age, which is another coming-of-age book that I've heard a lot about, and I think it's going to be good, and I've heard it's good, so I hope it's good. I'm also planning on reading Children of Blood and Bone, which I've also seen a lot on the internet, and it is a young adult fantasy book, so I'm excited to read it. I'm also planning on reading A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy soon, so hopefully I will get through all those in August. I will post another book wrap-up video at the end of August. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any book recommendations, let me know down below. Good luck, 좋아요, 봐주셔서 감사해요. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!